Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the seventh episode of Coin News Extra Virtual Panel Discussion. I'm still your host, Lee. So, joining us today are innovators in the ecosystem. We have Anand Tutuba. Anand is the CEO of Coins Telegram. Anand, you are welcome.
Thank you for inviting.
Okay, we have Jeff Hancock. Jeff Hancock is the co-founder and CEO of CoinPass Global. Jeff, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me. Really nice to be here.
So we have another innovator in the ecosystem. We have Adrian Nukuliscu.
Yeah, it's very good like that.
He is a CloudCoin Consortium and CMO of EMEA. Adrian, you're welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us here.
Okay, thank you, you all for joining us today on Coin Users Panel Discussion. So what we'll be discussing about today is a pressing issue facing the ecosystem. So we'll be talking about crypto scam projects. What should be done? That's our topics for today. So because of what happened, we've been able to see influx of people into the ecosystem asking questions about the Bitcoin cryptocurrency, and we don't want them to fall prey to some crypto project. The ecosystem is fine, but there are some bad players. So that's why we came up with this topic. So before we go straight or talk about how to avoid and whatever about crypto scam project, so can we just briefly know what a crypto scam project is? Adrian, can you help us?
About what a crypto scam project is?
Yes.
It's the definition is very simple. And anyway, crypto is a gold rush, and any gold rush attracts both ethical and non-ethical people. And I would say a crypto scam project is a project with only a reason of its existence to raise money from investors and to, I don't know, to run away with the funds. This is my simple definition of the crypto scam.
Yeah, that's it. Crypto scam, just like normal scam. Anything scam is not good. Anna, what can you say about crypto scam? What a crypto scam project is?
As for me, crypto scam projects are not always exit projects when founders just raise money and disappear with it. Sometimes founders can continue showing some work, some activity of the project, but the project can be not transparent. Or, for example, some exchanges, some companies can work for some time and then disappear with the funds. For example, as we saw just last year as the scam of IDEX exchange, when the founder just disappeared with private keys and the users lost their money, or scams with some other exchanges like with MTGOX or some, it seems, Quadrillion, when there was like the death of the founder, but probably in reality he is not dead, he just left with people's money.
Okay, Jeff, in your own terms, what can you say about?
Yeah, I mean, just want to echo exactly what Adrian and Anna have said. You know, a scam project it has kind of a wide breadth. It can be a project that is simply there to soak up investor funds in Bitcoin and Ethereum. It is definitely a gold rush. You know, this sort of thing has happened in every other market, whether it's gold, whether it's property, whether it's stocks and bonds. There's always going to be bad players out there. The only difference with crypto is because it's digital, the people that are in the know have a distinctive edge over investors that are looking for kind of those quick gains. And an investor that might think, oh, it's only $500, it's not that big of a deal, I'm not going to go broke. For a scammer or for an exchange or for a business that's taking advantage of these kind of people, they're using that allure of a very small investment on either someone going to get rich quick or a new token or a new issuance or whatever, but doing it over millions and millions of people. That £500 or $500 adds up very, very quickly. And it can be also just crappy business practices. It could be an exchange that is still up and running, but is either not profitable, bringing on not the right team, not the right staff, saying they were hacked when they actually weren't. There's a lot of these other, less legitimate practices going on that can be kind of labeled as a scam, but it is a very, very big word, and it is still, a ripe part of this space, unfortunately.
Okay, we have heard it, what crypto scam projects are. But the situation now, what we are trying to address now is we've been able to know what a crypto scam project is. But it's not easy to know what a project is, whether this project is a scam project or not. So how can we identify crypto scam project? Jeff?
How can we identify them? Well, I think it's one of the things that we focus on quite a lot is definitely education and communication. And not everyone will follow that kind of suit. And that's kind of one of the, one of the body shields, and one of the things that protect a scam from being found out is, obfuscating the truth, having a really, really slick marketing package, and promising stuff that is simply too good to be true. And what I think, the good players in the space, people that are on this webinar, the people that are freely giving their information out, we need to give ourselves a louder voice and work together to promote more education and more transparency to help new investors come to this space and find the good things about crypto and about trading, about investing. If you just look at what happened with the whole J.K. Rowling Twitter storm the other day, somehow got in a Bitcoin conversation, and it turned into a big troll fest, showing that this space is still not quite mature enough to bring in bigger influence of money and bigger institutional money.
Okay. Anna, what can you say? How can one identify a crypto scam project? We can easily say this is scam, this one did scam. How can we actually know a scam project?
So there are some cases when it's obvious that this or that project is scam, and of course, when you plan to invest into any project, you should do your own research. First of all, you should check the team, because a lot of projects just put fake teams, and some people even didn't exist, or they took somebody else's pictures and just put on their websites. The second thing is that the team should be experienced and should have appropriate qualifications for this or that position in the team. So the founder should be easily approachable. You should be able to check their social profiles, like on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. And that's it. As well, you should check the documents of the company, where it is registered, whether the company has all appropriate licenses for its activity. The third thing, read the white paper, but of course, as in the times of ICOs, everybody just made these white papers, and the projects were on idea stage, and there was no real product or service. So there should be good companies can present at least MVP to investors, to some demo version prototype, to see, so investors can see that the goals of the company are achievable. As well, a lot of projects promise some enormous returns from investments, but investments are risky field, so every good project should have a disclaimer that it's like in their documents, that it's their prospect, their white paper is not investment advice, and it should be the final decision of investor was invest into this or that project, and nobody can guarantee you enormous returns in any way, because like it's everybody knows that a lot of startups fail, not only in cryptocurrency industry. So some projects will bring you gains, some not.
Okay, interesting. That's very interesting. Adrian, what's your take on this?
I'm always looking first at the team. As Anna mentioned, there are some people added to team pages who are not actually involved in the project. And even it was a project where they're added some LinkedIn profiles of some people who were not involved in the project. So when I'm looking at the project, I first look at the team. I try to contact them on LinkedIn, on email. I do a search on Google to see their track record, because if a team is good, even if the project, let's say, will have some problems, let's say normal problems, if they're ethical people, they will be able to pivot the project. But if there is a serial scammer involved in the founding team, I will stay away from that project. And of course, the promises of too good to be true returns, this is a red flag that that scam may work for 1, 2, 3 months or so, but after that, most of the money will be vanished. This is like a guarantee that this will happen.
So having said all these things, are there in the ecosystem, some places you could be able to verify some projects? Are there places one could verify projects in the blockchain cryptocurrency ecosystem? Are there platforms? Are there some institutions that one can verify a project? Anna, what can you say about it?
There are some researchers as well, like I see you do some researches, some educational sessions on like on crypto scams as well. I can name other media called Coin Intelligence. They educate people on the cryptocurrency industry. They educate newcomers, and they do their due diligence on projects, on exchanges, and it's this information is open to everybody, so you can just easily Google it.
Okay, you are saying Google is the most core place to check. Okay, Adrian, what can you say about it?
Regarding that, the market is not fully regulated. It's still at its infancy. So I would advise every investor to do his own due diligence, because even, I don't know, some portals, they can have posts about some companies which is paid advertising, so it's not, let's say, 100% accurate. So my main way of doing that is looking at the team, verifying the team as much as possible. I have a circle of friends and investors, and we analyze those projects and we discuss about it. So it's a peer group, and everybody knows 1 to 3 other persons in the place, in the space. So this is how we analyze this project. We rely very little on third-party websites, because, as said, in many cases, some posts about different projects can be paid advertising. So they are not, let's say, accurate reviews to rely on.
Okay, that's interesting. There are no accurate review to rely on. Jeff, do you agree on that, or what's your take about it?
Yeah, definitely. What Adrian said about the third-party sites, it's a little bit of a gamble, because there is a lot of paid advertising on the main news journalism sites, or all the way down to some of the smaller ones. It's actually very cheap. A couple of ETH will get you a full promotion spot for a month or so. on some of these sites. It's very, very cheap. The peer group is another really, really good thing. We have several groups here in London, either on WhatsApp or Telegram or Meetups or wherever they are, and just talking to people, getting other people's opinion. There's stuff that I will see from a business standpoint. There's stuff that my CTO will see from a technical standpoint. And then the people that are really, really into this space, that are, developers and, that can digest a white paper in an afternoon, they'll tell you that it's a copy and paste of something they saw, a couple of weeks ago. So I think it's definitely the network and the community can protect itself from intruders, if you want to call them that. And just to echo what Anna said as well about Cointelligence, they're probably one of the go-to ones that we use if we were looking to invest in a new project or talk with them about a product that we want to launch. We know On and his team really, really well in London. And I think it's definitely about community and about finding the right information and just keeping it simple. If you can't find them on LinkedIn, you can't find them on Google, there's a couple of red flags that we should be looking for.
Okay, if you can't find them on LinkedIn or other social media, that's a red flag. So
pretty much.
This topic we are talking about has been some of the reasons why people are pushing for regulations in the ecosystem. Do you think regulation can solve this or can reduce the rate of scam projects in the ecosystem? Adrian, what do you think regulation can play a good role in that?
Of course, regulation is the solution here, but it will take at least 3 years from now, I would say, until we will have not a fully regulated market, but at least the actual jungle will be reduced at I don't know, a wood with some leftovers, let's say. So I don't see earlier than 3 years for this to happen anyway.
Jeff, what's your take?
On regulation, I think it really depends on the business and what that project is doing. So here in the UK, where our exchange is based, we are actually in the middle of doing our regulation registration with the FCA. They passed a new law in January this year. You have to be fully compliant and registered in order to operate a business that deals between fiat currencies and crypto assets. Even if you have something like a wallet or anything where you're deploying some sort of tech that works on blockchain technology or deals with crypto assets, you have to be registered and regulated. So for the UK, very, very hard line. But in terms of regulating the space, it's very easy to go and start a company up in another country, in another jurisdiction that has different rules. There are different rules in Germany and Estonia and in Malta, British Virgin Isles, Singapore, Hong Kong, and no one regulatory body has the power to operate in each of those jurisdictions to police where these businesses are started up. And because the space is purely digital, there is always going to be a part of the network that's always non-regulated anyway, and that's where a lot of these scams are going to probably exist. And you can't really truly ever really get rid of it, because what we do forget sometimes when we step outside of our own crypto space is this stuff still goes on every other day with forex trading, binary options, gold, silver, property, you name it. There's always someone out there trying to take someone else's money. It just happens faster on a much global scale with cryptos. So I don't think regulation is the one-all solution for everything. I think it depends on the business type. I mean,
Depends on the business type. Anna, what's your take about it? Do you think regulation will reduce the scam in the ecosystem?
Yeah, somehow regulations help, and as well, like for example, in 2017 we saw a boom of scam ICOs. Then industry matured, new legislation was adopted in the countries, some rules changed, and we see better and better projects, less scam on the market. But as well, it much depends, as was mentioned by Jeff, on the country where the company is registered. For example, it's considered that the most tough regulation is in USA or in Switzerland. It's very hard to get license there. But for example, it's quite easy to open a company in Estonia or in Malta, and I can say that a lot of scam projects get registrations there. Or in Malta, for example, first it was considered like a blockchain island, paradise for blockchain, but as we see now, even some big exchanges as Binance moving out of Malta, and a lot of projects still didn't get licensed there, so they're trying to get license in other countries to work legally. Or another thing, for example, with US legislation regulations is that first it was considered that projects should notify CSC about the token offerings. Then everybody just started selling tokens there via SAFT, simple agreement for tokens. And as we see now in the case with Telegram, US courts just simply some kind of made precedent for any future projects that it will be almost impossible to sell tokens to US investors. However, I don't consider Telegram a scam. It's a legit project.
Okay, we know what went on with Telegram. So, in this ecosystem, even in other businesses, it's not every project that failed is scam, and there are many startups in the ecosystem. What are the things you could tell startups so that they could avoid being or maybe crashing their business or their business being crashed? Once a business fails, it's labeled a scam. So, what's your advice? I'm still with you, Anna.
Every project should be transparent to the users, to investors, and they should make some publish statements on their websites. The team should appear on the conferences, so like in the media as well. The team should work on the project itself to show the product. And additionally, I can say that token projects are not that popular now. It's even hard for me to say who now invests into token projects. Probably a lot of Chinese investors, but usually just general crowd doesn't trust much token projects. So if projects should try to get some good investors, and if they show that they have good investors, it will be like incentivized for us investors to invest as well into this or that project.
Okay. Adrian, what can you say about it just in a minute?
My opinion is that the founders should go back to the basics and look at the business model. If they really have a product, if they really have a service, this should be their primary focus, because the tokens themselves are not the project itself, so the tokens are some vehicles attached to the main machine. So they should focus on building a real business, building real business assets, differentiating themselves from other companies. And of course, if they want also to offer tokens, it's okay. There are many projects I saw in pitches that are using blockchain and tokens only as a keyword, when really those projects, they don't need blockchain and they don't need tokens. They can raise funds in a classical VC manner, but they are using those words and they are creating white papers and other marketing materials using agencies, so that project will look different than how the project really is. Because a white paper is basically a sales page, selling a future promise, is a marketing material. There are many people everywhere who can produce a white paper in a few hours and will look amazing, but this is not the reality of the project. So the business basics will prevail. This is my opinion.
Okay. Jeff, what's your own opinion?
Yeah, definitely down to basics. If they have a product, whether it's blockchain or not, and it's a good project with a good idea, and you can get to an audience that are willing to accept the risk, then is the being transparent and being talking about your product and being responsible for it is kind of what any founder should do. As soon as there's a team that's not available or don't do any PR releases or don't have that exposure, they've got something to hide or hide behind. There are some of the largest exchanges in the world. It's still unknown who the real founders and operators of those businesses are. I'm not going to name names because that's throwing stones, but there's still a lot of anonymity in the space that hurts a lot of the genuine projects out there. Now, for a startup to fail, it's not uncommon in this space, in fintech, in any industry really. It happens all the time. Say with restaurants and anything else. And I think it's doing the hard thing of explaining to your investors and explaining to a community why they've failed to get traction and why they have to close their doors. It's a really, really hard thing to do. And I've read some of those PR releases, and I know it would absolutely kill me if I had to do the same thing to our business. But it's part of life, and life goes on. And I don't think a lot of the people that have been branded as a scam that didn't need to be, they could have all done something different. But it's not hard to be a little bit transparent. It's not hard to do that that hard email, that hard PR push. But that's how they can definitely differentiate themselves from being labeled as an exit scam or labeled as a crappy coin project.
Okay, thank you very much. Lastly, before we draw the curtain, what's your advice to crypto enthusiasts and community on staying safe and avoiding crypto scam? Jeff?
Probably just back to Adrian's last point, keep it simple. Don't invest in anything you don't know about. If you're brand new to the space, stick with Bitcoin and Ethereum for a little bit. There's plenty of other stuff out there that can be shiny object syndrome. But only invest in exactly what you know about. If there's a project doing blockchain for coffee beans somewhere and you don't know anything about coffee, then might it be for you. If you're got a really, really strong property background and there's some sort of property token, then maybe that might be an interest of you, and you can see if it's actually a genuine project or not. But I would say just kind of keep it simple. Only invest what you can afford to lose, as true with any other investing or any other business, and always do due diligence. Ask all the right questions in all the right places. If it feels fishy, it probably is. And make sure you have a really, really strong community around you, whether they're your personal friends and family, whether it's a community that you join that's really, really strong, and start a conversation. That's the best way to learn.
Okay. Adrian, what's your take? What's the advice to the community?
Investing is a learnable skill, so every investor should any investor must ride the learning curve and learning about investments, learning about blockchain, about other technologies connected to blockchain, about crypto. So at the end of the day is their own responsibility for the funds invested if they will be successful or not. It's very easy to blame others. It's very, very easy. I've been in all sorts of situations, so this is how I've learned. But at the end of the day, to be an investor, it's a learnable skill. You need to put your hands on the ropes and learn as much possible from many sources, and slowly you will start seeing some patterns, and you will be able to spot scams much easily, because this is something I've learned is related to how police work. It's called superior pattern recognition. When a policeman sees a crime scene, it may look similar with other 10 or 20 crime scenes he saw before. So also in investments, it's a superior pattern recognition. In Forex, is called the history repeats themselves about technical analysis. So it's a learning curve. You can't avoid that.
Okay, interesting. And now what's your advice to the community?
So I advise not to invest your last money, not to take any credits for investments, and of course always do your own research, do your own due diligence, check the team, check the documents of the company, check whether the goals of the company is achievable, whether the market needs this product or service, what is possible user traction for this or that company, and calculate your own on your own the possible profits from this or that company. And yeah, I agree that if you are not that much familiar with crypto industry yet, it's better just to invest into Bitcoin or Ethereum for long term and just wait for some time and not bother yourself much with some smaller projects which you don't understand. And additionally, I can say that a lot of scam projects use multi-level marketing. So for me, this is a red flag that this is a scam.
Big time.
So it's better to avoid such projects.
So even our viewers, thank you, and let's stay safe out there and stay away from scam projects. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen and lady, for joining us. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. I'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you, Anna, for joining us.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you very much for having me here. Happy to help anytime.
Okay.